there's a study guide that you have that's very extensive on what some of those bullet points are for us to take heed to when you're teaching. There's an interesting one that I know, and I talked to Brother Dub about, and maybe he'll even chime in later. You have a history and a layout of the origin of the word nigger and where it comes from. A lot of people use that word loosely, and they're not knowing that it has a history and origin and what they could see it as, rather than just saying it loosely without even paying homage to what it is. I would like you, my brother, as you keep it simple, making it plain, give our family the history of that word and how it goes into what people have somewhat bastardized it into, and not knowing that there are elements that are tethered to us that we need to be aware of, rather than just using it, not knowing as many things that were taught to us or that we follow that should help us not only survive in the community but excel in it.
You see, brother, as it relates to that word, on YouTube, there's a piece that I did. I teach college, upstate New York, SUNY New Paltz. I'm in the Black Studies department.
Very familiar.
And I'm invited frequently to speak to the students after class because I teach evenings. And this one evening, they asked me just to come together as a group of young people, because I'm talking to freshmen to seniors in college. That word is very different from the word that we used growing up that I have watched people die over. And I looked to the history of the word in order to understand it and to be able to put it in a way that we could move to another level. And because of the strategy, the pain that we have felt as a people with this word, I decided that what I wanted to do was to frame the concept before I taught the word. And the way in which I begin talking about this is by talking about a woman by the name of Helene Blavatsky, who was a Russian metaphysician who traveled the world and visited Tibet and came upon a spiritual system that had many symbols. When you look at the ancient world, this symbol is all over the ancient world, and it is a sacred symbol. It is a beautiful symbol. And it is in Africa. It represents everything from an elliptical galaxy to the law of opposites and complements. It represents all the wonderful things that our society has to offer in the ancient world. In China, they rounded off the symbol, and it represents the yin and the yang, the male and the female, the law of opposites, those things that bring all things into existence. And it is a beautiful symbol. It has wonderful meanings, connotations, and denotations. Madame Helene Blavatsky brings these symbols back to Europe and to Russia. And because of the nature of the metaphysics of it, it catches throughout that world. And there would be a young lieutenant that would look to this symbol, and he would attach to this symbol. This individual was rather insane. He was crazy, and he was a horrible human being. However, he took this symbol and he emblazoned it on his flags. He emblazoned it on the clothes of those that wore it. He made it a national symbol for the country we today call Germany. And he did horrible things to people. And every time these horrible acts were performed on these individuals, they would see this symbol. And what was once a very beautiful symbol became a very dirty, worthless, horrible symbol. Because every time that people were put in the gas chambers, every time people were shot, every time people were murdered, they saw this symbol flying on the flags of the people that were treating them in a most horrible way. If I should walk into a room of people who are of Jewish faith, and I would draw the swastika, which is this symbol I'm talking about, if I were to draw this symbol on the chalkboard, And if people of Jewish faith were to see this symbol, they would want to do me physical, mental, and spiritual harm. They wouldn't ask me what it means. They don't know what it means. It doesn't mean that it's a wonderful elliptical galaxy. It doesn't mean that it is the law of opposites. It doesn't mean all beautiful things that bring people together. All it represents to them is what murdered their people, put their people in gas chambers, created a horrible system of government that almost took over the world. They would want no part of this symbol because a dirty man with a dirty mind did dirty, horrible things to people with this symbol that was once beautiful representing his actions. Now, with that in mind, let us go back to a word that the Romans came upon during the Punic Wars. And when they would come into North Africa, and they would visit North Africans from Libya to Kemet or Egypt, Morocco, Mauritania, they would come upon peoples who would tell them, they would say, who are you? And they had a word, a term, a sound, and that sound was Inger, which if we were to put it into the alphabet we use, it would be NGR, Inger. And they said, well, what does this mean? And they said, well, it means that we are powerful leaders. We are the Negus Negusti. We are the Ingers. We are the leaders. We are sacred people. We are spiritual people. And so the Romans, not having this word in their vocabulary, placed this word in their vocabularies. And it came to the form of Negro, Niger. And that is how the word got into the Roman vocabulary. Now, from a very beautiful word, from a very wonderful, powerful word, leadership, sacred, powerful, living word, creator word, a dirty people took a beautiful word and labeled a people on it. And every time they would do something to hurt those people, they would call those people that beautiful word that meant leader, sacred, and wonderful. That word in the context of its usage by the people who used it became a very horrible word. It was a beautiful word, but it was made horrible by dirty, worthless, animalistic people who are white supremacists. So that as our grandmothers and mothers were being beaten on the plantation, as they were being tortured, burned at the stake, and lynched on trees, when they sicked their dogs and their fire hoses on our pregnant family members, this word nigger was used. So what was once a very beautiful word became a horrible word because of the dirty people that were using it. So that when I use this lesson to teach our young people, I attempt to help them understand the history of the word. And I tell them, don't go out there and tell anybody that Brother Kaba say you can use this word because it's beautiful. No more than I would tell somebody to go out and start drawing swastikas because although Hitler used it for horrible reasons, it's really a beautiful word because it is the social context, it's the social construct of the words we use that give these words the power that they have. And so I use this to explain to our young people to understand our elders. Understand our elders and why they don't like that word. And I say to the elders to understand the history of the word, to understand why that word has no real meaning or it doesn't mean the same thing to our younger people. And as we develop an understanding, we can choose whether or not we want to use that word. But by no means or stretch of the imagination saying that that is a good word because of the social context and what has happened because of that word, because of the way in which that word has been used against us, the same way that beautiful swastika, that beautiful symbol that became the swastika, although it's a beautiful symbol and it means wonderful thing, people are not concentrated on the history of that symbol. They are concentrating on when they saw the symbol in their life, which brought them great pain. So that when our people hear that word nigger, they're not going back to Negus Negusti. They're not going back to the Ethiopian Abyssinians or to the Garamantes of North Africa or the Moroccans who had great civilizations. They're going back to the plantation when they were tortured, raped, and mistreated. And that word means to them. I only want us to get into the history of the word so that if we should choose to use the word or never use the word again, at least understanding the history of the word allows us to put that word in a social context in which we can move forward as a community and not allow ever a word to create such a problem. Because, listen, for every cultural group that I have ever known or come upon, I can give you a derogatory word that represents that group, whether they be Italian or Irish or Polish or Jewish, Albanian, Japanese, Chinese. We have a derogatory word for all groups. So if folk want to throw out derogatory terms, I know derogatory terms for everybody. So, I want us just to look at the word, understand the word, and deal with the word from where it's coming from so we don't get caught up in allowing a word to be something that it is not. It is a social construct that we are experiencing that stops us from being able to use that word, and not that that word is a bad word. What sends shivers up our spine when we hear that word is not because it's a bad word. It is because the word created great pain for us as a people. Every time we hear it, we remember our experiences where we were hearing that word.
And the way you really wove that into the story using the swastika, which I've seen their drawings and read books about how that materialized into a bad symbol, this explanation that you gave of the root word of this is a first for me. Now, hopefully this will be in Hidden Colors 3 where it could break people that root, because if it's dealing with racism, Hidden Colors 3, and in any teachings, a lot of our brothers and sisters who use that word to each other, and they say, well, you guys call each other that, and then they take it and make it slang, nigga, we're not saying it with the ER, we're saying the Nigga, but they don't know about the NGR, the true root, the etymology of the word, semantically now placing it in the derogatory term as the Europeans and those who've committed the white supremacy / domination over them. So that mindset that our people, especially the young ones, and I'm very thankful that you choose to get the younger ones, because when you talk to elders, and I grew up listening to my elders, and again, we could say, may peace be upon him, John Henry Clark, to sit in his class as a 20-year-old in 1978, and I would cut classes to his class before I even was a student of his. Myrna Bain, I don't know if you're familiar with her at Hunter College. She was a very you remember her?
You know about Jerry Bain?
No, Myrna Bain from Hunter College. She was a Black Studies.
Yes, I remember Sister Baines.
Yeah, she was one of my Black Studies teachers. And she told
I remember
me,
Sister Baines.
Yeah, she told me to go to Jerry Clark's class, and it's not just because of him just being an educator, because who I was as a man, and a young man seeking knowledge, being on the Black Student Union and doing all that, and the radio station at Hunter College. When I think about the travels as a young man and maybe even seeking greater knowledge, a lot of young people now with the Twitter, the YouTube, and all these social media pollutants, you could use it as a tool, but a lot of it is polluting the mind of people. This type of education, especially in a classroom setting, will help them elevate. Now, you may reach hundreds at a point, then thousands, and then we have to teach each other in classroom settings. But I would hope something like this, which is why it is hidden, to put this on network TV and say, here's the history of this word, go do the research, would shift the paradigm of millions of us, especially young people, who are ignorant to the fact that this word is something they've heard, they've used against us, they've known our people to be murdered from it, hung, castrated, and every other type of vile act. This type of education will bring up even to those elders who did not realize, or I would say really they're older, because an elder is a earned title to me. You could be older, but you never taught or was willing to rise up out of whatever oppressive behavior you think was done and was done to you. However, you remained in that. By getting education, you can now go, I did not know. Now you could teach your younger generations at the family reunion and beyond to be able to help them not use it non-constructively or even use it at all. Like you said, you don't have to use the word at all. Again, at least know the history of it. So as if you're using the word God or anything in your particular religious walks, you know the origin of a spiritual travel. And I think what you've just done, for the sake of our listeners now, is give them a chance to be able to know, wow, I was just using it like some people use tinfoil. They don't know what they're doing. And even I, when I was growing up, I wasn't aware of this. And you know about New York City, of course you do. Growing up in the Bronx, that word was tossed around constantly. Even here in Atlanta, Georgia, in the South, it's tossed around across the nation, across the world. And I think our people, with racist trials, police brutality, economic, all the 9 concepts Nikki Fuller and Dr. Francis Cresswell speak of, our people have to be prepared to see in every faction of life this type of behavior and or thought process, because I think it's beyond the word now. It's a thought process to get you thinking as if you are inferior, as if you are just a negative connotation, a nigger, with no history of the beauty of the word and the origins. And I think and would hope that through consistent feeding this back, we could be able to do that. And in your study guide, you have several other issues I know that are helpful. Are your young people in class, Baba, receiving your information and maybe even asking for additional tutoring outside of a class setting where they can actually go help themselves, help each other?
Well, in my college class, in the fall term, I teach Intro to Africa, which is an overview of ancient African history, which is in the study guide that I have. In the spring term, I teach a course on our brother Malcolm X. I teach a course, Malcolm X, the Man in His Times. I think some of the most powerful relationships and conversations and discussions I have with the students is built into the relationship that I've developed with them when they invite me to come back to their student activity centers that's in their dormitories and to conduct different types of conversations with them. And, you know, one of the things that I realized, brother, particularly on the college level, because I'm an early childhood person, basically, and I've taught all grades, high school, from pre-K straight. I've taught parents who have children in their womb. So I've tried to reach but the college student still needs that adult relationship in their life. They still need a father image. And for so many of my students who may have grown up without a daddy, in a college setting, I still represent their father in many ways. I've come to realize that. We think that, okay, they're 18 to 21 and they're on their own, but the fact of the matter is that we all need that parental image in our life. And so when they invite me back to their student centers, to their recreation rooms, in their dormitories, they get to see me in a different setting. And I do different types of conversations and discussions, from teaching them about the Dogon, the Mali, to the Shabaka stone, to student rights, how to protect yourself, this particular concept on the origin of the word nigger. This was one of the activities that we had. And where I come in and maybe my class ends at like 8:30 in the evening, and I'll do a presentation from like 9 to 11. I have visited college campuses across the country, And I remember nights when I would go to Columbia University and speak at the Malcolm X Lounge, and there'd be students sleeping on the floor at 2:30 in the morning, and we'd still be going at it. And so, going back to your question, it is so important for us to understand this relationship that we have with our young people is a never-ending relationship between the elder and the younger. And that we, as you so rightly said, just because you get older don't make you an elder. It just makes you older. To be an elder is a position of someone who has gained experience and is willing to share this experience free of heart to those who are willing to listen. You know, they say the only thing worse than a young fool is an old fool.
Right.
And so that just being older doesn't make you someone, and sometimes older people try to take advantage of their being older. But they're really not giving anything of value to the community. That has nothing to do with who they are. That just means that you just did not evolve into the person that experience allows you to become. Like Richard Pryor said, you don't get to be old by being a fool. You learn through your experiences. The question is, are you willing to share?
Conform to who you are. And if you could do that, then we're safe. And I try to tell people, let's not look at a bottom line economic gain and then you miss all that spiritual glory out there and you become polluted. There's many stories of many millionaires who've lost their mind and killed themselves because they realized they didn't know who they were, knowledge of self. So I'm not looking for overly a material gain from this, talking and teaching and having shows like this or going to seminars and sitting, being humble. And I think a lot of people would rather sell their soul and not be humble than to go ahead and get rich and then say, well, I've made it. I've reached the top. The top of what? A pyramid that exists? That is not the food chain I want to be part of because you're only going to be fodder for what they put you through on that conveyor belt.
Brother
and
Wallace.
You know what?
I think I heard Brother Dub. That Brother Dub?
That's me, good brothers. How's it going, good brothers? Brother Carper?
Excellent, Brother Dub. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to jump in since Brother Wally cued me in, and that's just
Oh, I had to, brother, because I know you in the back, and you're part of this show as we always do. We love you, brothers. Go ahead, right ahead.
Right. In the about roughly 12 minutes that we have left, I just wanted to thank the good brother for coming on, and I just wanted to say, hey, when he was breaking that down, Brother Wallace, I was here sitting with tears in my eyes. That's how powerful that was, and that's how powerful that message is, that not just us in the Rambe family that are listening live tonight, but those that will listen to playback, they need to hear that. And this brother has the history, has the scholar, has the elders that still, whether living or transitioned, still speaking to him. So he's in contact with the ancestors, in contact with let's say the universe and multiverses as well. So I'm happy. I'm joyful. My spirit is up. Was he's given the knowledge about the ancient gods and the ancient those that have the full access to the Kundalini energy. So again, brother, I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for breaking it down to us. Like I said, I know you may want to transition or translate it on into the melanin and the Moors, but I'm here just listening in the background. Thank you so much.
Hotep. And brother, something else that Brother Wale said earlier, the more I learn how much more there is to learn. And I want to be very clear that I received this information on the words of the origin of the word nigger by a brother by the name of Ori Pianki. And I encourage the community to go on the internet and go into the search engine and just put the origin of the word nigger. Because, my research led me to Brother Pianki. And there's an article right there that I have studied, that where I got that information that I shared with you. Not the piece about the swastika. The swastika is just history that I've taught. I've read the works of Helene Blavatsky. I've read the works of the brother, very powerful brother by the name of Pascal Beverly. People need to understand Pascal Beverly. This brother was just a brilliant metaphysician that impacted Helene Blavatsky. He was a New Yorker, and he was a metaphysician back in the 1800s. And people need to research that brother, Pascal Beverly Randolph, to understand exactly how heavy this brother was. So that the combination of my research of Helene Blavatsky with the development of the swastika, with a 3-part DVD that I bought with the occult science behind the Nazi Party. You see, we all have to understand that Hitler was a student of Egypt. That's why he called himself the Führer, because Führer is the German word for Pharaoh. And that is why he had the eagle on his helmet, because that represented Heru, the resurrection of the Vaterland. Because the Germans, between World War I and World War II, always believed that they should have won World War I. So Hitler saw himself as a resurrected spirit that was about to bring back to Germany its rightful place in the world. And to do that, he created the first people to be murdered by the Nazis were not people of Jewish faith. The first people to be murdered by the Nazis were the Africans and African Americans that remained in Europe. That's who Hitler was after. Hitler wasn't creating a new religion. He was creating a new race. And the reason why Jews were attacked was, for one thing, they had a great deal of control over the monetary system of Europe, but also they believed them to be tainted with black blood. And that's why he went after the Jews. But the people he was trying to get rid of on the planet were black people. There's a DVD out on black Germans that talk about what the Nazis did to them. World War II didn't start with what happened with the bombing of Japan. World War II started when the fascist Italians went into Ethiopia. Hitler was a student of Mussolini. In 1923, when Mussolini was arrested, Hitler was arrested in Germany. That's why the connection between the Italians, the Japanese, and the Germans were so tight. Because Nazism is the German form of Italian fascism with Mussolini. Now, I tell people, don't believe me. Just study history. Go back and read this for yourself. I'm not here to make you believe me. I'm here to make you think. That's why Hitler would not shake Jesse Owens' hands. That's why he had a problem with Joe Louis when Joe Louis beat the devil out of Max Schmeling. Because those two black men contradicted everything that Nazism said about the inferiority of blacks and the superiority of Europeans.
Right. Let me say this, brother, and when people think about that, and I always watch the little specials they did with Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, and they tried to make them friends and all of that, and I heard they had a nice conversation after the second fight where he did get the dog beat out of him. But the whole Jesse Owens thing, and you see that even if you go 20 years earlier with Jack Johnson and what he was doing here in America, 100 years before his time, even though I didn't agree what he did with white women and all of that. There's so much history when you do the research, and I did write down Pascal Beverly Randolph, which I'm going to do research on, and the origin of the word nigger, and I encourage everybody else to. What I want our family to do, first and foremost, brother, I want you to know this is your first time on Harambe, not your last. I'm going to set it up with Brother Delani and bring it into the ethers, that we'll have you on for a 2-hour show on a Friday in the future before the year ends, because we want to promote Hidden Colors 3 to the the highest level possible, and any additional education which you have a wealth of knowledge on, we want that out in the air, in the open, for us to continue to chop up. If you can, brother, any and all contact information that our family needs to reach you, email you, set you up for seminars, conversations, or otherwise, you can feel free to give that out. And again, brother, it's been my honor as a student of yours, not only tonight, but in your series, and spiritually, I know we've crossed each other's paths. It's an honor again to have you on.
Well, I appreciate you, brother. And please, if I can just correct something that I said. His name is Pascal Randolph Beverly. I think Beverly is his last name.
Okay, I'll switch that up. Let me do that.
Pascal
Randolph Beverly.
Yeah, so I think that's my challenge. Also, Hubert Harrison is another brother that we need to know about.
Hubert Harrison?
Yes, Hubert Harrison, man. He was known as the Black Socrates, man. This brother used to preach in Harlem. Yeah, man, this brother used to preach. He used to teach on the corner in Harlem where white people used to come up to listen to him. He was a philosopher king. And we need to know about it. But I just raised those 2 points. And also Sharshi McIntyre, we need to read her book, Criminalizing a Race. But as it relates to my information, I encourage the community to email me at commona777@AOL.com. KAME777@AOL.com. I also have a website, www.pantherprints.com, PANTHERPRINCE.com. The online television, the online cable program that I have is entitled The Perank, P-E-R-A-N-K-H, with Brother Kaba, K-A-B-A. The website, www.TOWNZONETV.com. We stream live on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 Eastern Time. And we teach the study. Email me and let me know that you've heard it on Harambe Radio. I will send you the study guide free of charge. It's 70 pages. One more point is that Dr. Runoko Rashidi is going on a tour of Spain and Morocco from June 7th to June 17th, 2014. He has invited me to be a guest lecturer. That we will be developing a concept for 10 days of the role that Africans played in the development of the Renaissance of Europe.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, when you contact if you're interested, I'll send you the itinerary of where will be those 10 days. But I encourage you to consider this because it's going to be a powerful activity because I have done a lot of research on the Moors, and Runoko Rashidi has been in Spain over 10 times. He's been in Morocco over 5 times. He has a great understanding of it, and he will do for this trip what Dr. Ben did for us going to Egypt. He knows where to take us, and I know how to teach it. So reach out to us.
My brother, I'm definitely going to do that. You've kept me alive, not only this last hour, you've kept my spirit engulfed with reaching out more to my family. Again, brother, it's an honor, a pleasure. Dubdouche, you've done your not only due diligence as a Harambe family member, but we've just added another. Kaaba, Hiawatha Kamene, my brother, may the blessings continue to rise up through you as it comes through us as well. Once again, Hotep and Ashe for your energy. Get ready for our sister, Gwen Mack and brother Marshall Wilkerson. It's been a pleasure, brother. We're going to talk offline real soon.
Hotep and Hotep to the family.